When people think of classic Mario Party, I think most people think of Mario Party 2. It's the second most popular favorite according to Mario Party Superstars behind Mario Party 1, and it was the only console Mario Party game to get re-released on both the Wii and Wii U virtual consoles. However, does Mario Party 2 stand the test of time? Well, welcome back to Mark's Rec Room, where today we'll be taking a critical look at Mario Party 2, the fan favorite Mario Party game. Mario Party 2 added a variety of new mechanics and spaces to really help differentiate itself from the first game. Mario Party 2 removes the mushroom spaces from 1, which is definitely for the better. It also removes the single player minigame space, which we'll explore more once we talk about the minigames. However, Mario Party 2 adds 3 new spaces and a brand new item system. Mario Party 2 adds a item space where you'll play a minigame and receive an item, battle spaces where all players must wager coins and the winner will walk away with the pot. Finally, 2 also adds Koopa Bank spaces, which will take 5 coins from players who pass it, but will give the bank's reserves to whoever lands on the space on most boards. Mario Party 2 also introduces duels. If 2 players land on the same space during the last 5 turns, they will wager coins and participate in a duel minigame. Also, Koopa Kid shows up on the star space whenever a star is purchased and steals 5 coins from everyone who passes him. Each of these new mechanics are extremely welcome additions to Mario Party 2. All of them add layers of depth and strategy to the game that weren't present in Mario Party 1. Battle and duel minigames give players more opportunities to make money at the expense of their opponents, which is always great. It's engaging and keeps players on their toes. Koopa Bank spaces add a bit of luck to the equation, but I really like them since they add an additional level of interactivity to the boards. My favorite addition has to be the items though. Items are great because they give players tools to improve their odds and strategize. Most of them can be purchased from the item shop, but a handful of them can only be obtained through an item minigame. Mushrooms and golden mushrooms allow you to roll additional dice blocks, the warp block changes places with a random opponent, the skeleton key will allow you to open these gates. There's also the plunder chest, which steals an opponent's item, the dueling glove, which allows you to initiate a duel with another player, and the magic lamp, which will take you directly to the star. The items that can't be purchased include the Boo Bell, which summons Boo, the Bowser Bomb, which will cause Bowser to appear at the Koopa Kid space and roll 3 dice blocks. If he rolls into you, he'll take all of your coins, which is a little too punishing in my opinion. Finally, the Bowser suit allows you to take 20 coins from every opponent you pass, but if you pass by Koopa Kid, he'll give you all of the coins that he's taken so far. The items available here are really great, especially to start the series off. They're all fairly well balanced, and if I had to complain about them, I'd say that the plunder chest is a bit too powerful because you can steal an item and use it in the same turn. Also, if somebody buys a plunder chest, it almost guarantees that everyone will avoid getting an item since it will just be stolen. The only bummer with the items is that you can only hold one at a time, and you cannot discard them. So, if you get a skeleton key, you won't be able to get another item until you use that skeleton key. This takes a bit of strategy away since it's almost always optimal to use an item right after you get it to make room for another item. It also makes skeleton keys way worse since you have to use it before you can get something else. However, I still think that items were what Mario Party 1 was missing, among other things. Items add a level of strategy and provide more value to coins that really helps elevate Mario Party from a bland, luck-based experience to a more engaging, strategic one with a good hint of luck. Another area that Mario Party 2 improves upon are the boards. Mario Party 2 features 6 boards, all themed after movie genres. There's Pirate Land, Western Land, Space Land, Mystery Land, Horror Land, and Bowser Land. Yes, it is a bummer that there are 2 less boards than there were in the previous game, but these boards are all much more focused and are honestly better boards as a result. So let's take a look at them in order from my least favorite to my favorite. Mystery Land is the weakest board in the game, and if you watch my first video on Mario Party 1, it won't be too surprising as to why. Mystery Land is another island loop board, which I am not a big fan of because these boards take a lot of strategic decision making away from the player and rely much more on dice rolls. Mystery Land consists of 4 islands that loop until you hit these happening spaces to travel to the next one. It's even more frustrating because this board isn't just about rolling high, but if you want to travel to the next island, you have to hit a specific number, which items can't influence. Thankfully, the warp block and skeleton key are more useful on this map. You can use the warp block to swap places with an opponent, you just have to get lucky. You can also use the skeleton key at these 2 doors, which will take you to a junction that will allow you to choose whether you go to the top left or bottom right island. There's also this 10 coin UFO trip that you can take between the top left and bottom right islands, which adds a hint of strategy. You can also curse a player and cause their next dice roll to be 1 to 3, which is so BM. This board isn't irredeemable or anything, it has a handful of mechanics that allow you to influence your placement, but it relies way too much on luck and is really easy to get stuck looping on an island over and over again if you don't roll well. Pirate Land is probably one of the best boards to play with a Mario Party newbie. This board is honestly more linear than it looks, which I'm not too crazy about, but there are a fair amount of these thwomp tolls that function as shortcuts, which is great. Thwomp tolls that increase depending on what the previous player paid are cool in my opinion, since they add more value to coins and minigames and create an interesting dynamic between the players and the board. The happening spaces on this bridge will send all the players on the bridge back to start, and there's these really weird sushi spaces where sushi will take the player across the shortcut, but these spaces aren't happening spaces. It doesn't really change all that much, I just thought it was weird. Overall, Pirate Land is alright. It's a really simple linear board, which I'm not a huge fan of, but the thwomp tolls add enough decision making to make it interesting. Western Land is another good, simple board. This board has what I'm going to refer to as a town square structure, where there's a small town square on the inside and you can cut through here to get to the variety of paths on the outside. This board is all about messing with your and your opponent's placements. Happening spaces will cause this train to go to the next station, and if it hits anyone along the way, they get sent back to start. You can also ride the train for 5 coins and go to the next station either forwards or backwards at random. I think the random element here is a little overkill. I think this board would have been fine if you could just pick which way you wanted to go, or if you could only go forward. You could also start a hootenanny for 20 coins, which brings everybody to the saloon. Western Land is a good board. The train's constant movement might be a little much sometimes, but I think that the layout is good, and this is another great board to play with people who aren't too familiar with Mario Party. Bowser Land is basically the opposite day of the other boards. On Bowser Land, passing by the Bowser Bank will give players 5 coins instead of taking from them. However, if you land on the bank space, you have to pay back all of the money that's been given out. If you don't have any coins to pay back the debt, Baby Bowser will steal a star from you, which sucks. The item shop will also force a random item on you and force you to pay for it. I really like both of these gimmicks since they're twisting the game's mechanics to be even more sinister. I think that the best Bowser boards twist the game's central mechanics, and Bowser Land does well with this. The main gimmick here is the Bowser Parade. The Bowser Parade happens every 5 turns and follows a set path. If the players are caught in the Bowser Parade, they'll be chased back to start, dropping 2 coins per space. However, by passing the parade planning office and paying 5 coins, you can change the route of the parade. I think that this mechanic is fittingly punishing and really forces players to strategize. I honestly love it. Bowser Land has a lot going for it, but there are a couple of things that kill it for me. Firstly, these pipes that can randomly take you to any spot on the board are kind of lame. I feel like this board was fine without this gimmick, and adding it seems to make it more random than it really needs to be. Also, this board contains an infinite on this blooper ride. I mentioned this earlier and in my previous video, but infinites are always terrible board design. This board already has so much going for it, to put an infinite in here that players can't escape unless they roll the right number sucks, and doesn't test their strategy or skills at all. Besides a few hiccups, I think that Bowser Land is a cool board, particularly because it twists the normal Mario Party board mechanics into something a lot more punishing. Spaceland is a board that I almost immediately think of when I want to explain board gimmicks. Spaceland is a great, no-nonsense board that has 2 main mechanics that complement each other well. In the center of the board, there's a 4-way junction with a countdown. Every time somebody passes through this junction, the timer counts down until it reaches 0. Once it reaches 0, Bowser shoots this coin beam down the diagonal path here, and if it hits a player, it takes all of their coins. This creates an interesting dynamic where players need to not only care about their placement on the board, but keep an eye out for other players who may be passing by the junction or are just in the line of fire. The other mechanic complements this. If you land on a happening space, a womp will come through and drive you off of that strip. However, if you pay the Sniffit Patrol to catch speeders, they will actually chase you down 2 strips and put you on the diagonal path where the coin beam is. This means that players can use coins to have direct influence over where they or their opponents end up, which I think is great. My only gripes with this board are that these strips are a little long, so there's a good chance that you could just be rolling and not making a ton of decisions for a couple turns. I also really like how the skeleton key doors work in this map too, functioning as great shortcuts and even locking a boo behind them. This board is great. Is anybody surprised that Horror Land is the best board in the game? Horror Land is such a genius board with such an innovative central mechanic that Mario Party 6 made a whole game about it. Horror Land features a day and night cycle that changes every 2 turns, or when somebody hits a happening space, participates in a dance party, or lights the darkness lamp. During the day, most boos are inactive except for this one locked behind a skeleton key door, but the womps are active and they function the same way that they did in DK's Jungle Adventure. You can pay their toll to pass by the path that they're blocking, and when you take the path that they're not blocking, they'll walk over to block that path. However, at night, the womps will become immovable, blocking that path off until daytime. At night, these boos are active, and so is Big Boo, who will steal coins or stars from everybody, provided that you're able to make it there and that you have the coins for it. There's also Mr. I, who will take you across the map if you pay him 5 coins at night, 10 during the day. Horrorland is brilliant for a number of reasons. The day and night mechanic forces you to plan out your actions multiple turns in advance, which really leads to fun strategies. The board also uses skeleton keys rather well, not locking stars behind skeleton key doors, but instead locking powerful boos that will really allow you to turn the tides in your favor if you go out of the way to do it. This board is also very easy to understand and traverse, and you'll constantly be making decisions with each roll. I do have a couple of minor gripes, mostly that the Womps can potentially block off the star from everyone. Also, I really wish that there was a second item shop up at the top of the board, but I get that Mario Party 2 only has one shop per board. Overall though, I think that Horrorland is a brilliant board and I instantly want to play it whenever I play Mario Party with friends. The boards in Mario Party 2 are leagues better than they were in Mario Party 1. While we do have 2 less boards this time around, they're way more consistent and they don't really leave a bad taste in my mouth aside from Mystery Land. Something that I really like about the boards here is that Chance Time and Boos are often locked behind skeleton key doors. This is really good in my opinion because it makes going to Chance Time and to Boo a conscious decision that a player makes, so using Chance Time can almost be a last resort strategy to try to pull ahead, which I like a whole lot. All of Mario Party 2's boards have central mechanics that are really good and unique as well, differentiating them from a mechanical standpoint, not just aesthetically. Aesthetically though, these boards are really clever too, and I can't not mention the costumes that everybody wears. This just makes Mario Party 2 feel like it outclasses the original in every way, but there's still one important factor to consider. That's right, it's time to talk about the mini-games. I'll be rating these mini-games on a scale from 1 to 10, then taking the mean, median, and mode of these scores to see how Mario Party 2 does overall in a comparison to the other Mario Party games. Mario Party 2 features 64 mini-games that will be found through board gameplay, which is an increase from Mario Party 1's 49. I'm only omitting one minigame in this ranking, and that's Driver's Ed, since it's a single-player special minigame that you won't encounter through normal board or multiplayer gameplay. Anyways, it's also good to note that Mario Party 2 remakes or straight up reuses a handful of minigames from Mario Party 1, 21 to be exact. While it does stink that some of these minigames are literally the same as they were in the original, some of them feature substantial changes that I think are worth revisiting. So, without further ado, here are my ratings for Mario Party 2's minigames. Lava Tile Isle is a finicky but fine King of the Hill minigame. Hot Rope Jump is pretty much the same as it was in Mario Party 1, but instead of just needing to clear a threshold, this minigame is survival style, which I like a lot more. It can go on for a while though, so definitely clear your schedule. Shell Shocked is a slow, kind of boring tank minigame. Toad in the Box is a really great timing minigame. Mecha Marathon is a pretty good mashing minigame, but mashing A and B is kind of uncomfortable in my opinion. Roll Call is a pretty boring counting minigame. It's kind of hard to mess this one up. Abandoned Ship is a really weird mashing minigame, and the fish just adds too much going on at one time. Platform Peril is pretty much the same as it was in Mario Party 1, with a couple of new obstacles, but nothing really makes it stand out all that much from the first one. Totem Pole Pound is really uneventful. Just ground pound. Bumper Balls adds a few arenas, but don't get it twisted. This minigame will still end in a draw. Bombs Away has the same problem. Tipsy Tourney is literally the same as it was in Mario Party 1. It's still good though. Honeycomb Havoc comes down to luck and collusion. Hexagon Heat is pretty much the same as Mushroom Mix-Up. Still great. Skateboard Scamper is pretty much the same as it was in Mario Party 1, just with a better aesthetic. Slot Car Derby is also the same as it was in Mario Party 1, just with new tracks. Shy Guy Says is still the same as it was in Mario Party 1, but with a downgraded aesthetic in my personal opinion. Still a great minigame though. Sneak and Snore is red light, green light, but you can't really react because you'll get caught. It feels random and I hate it. Dizzy Dancing is really easy and it's over in like 3 seconds. Tile Driver is a frame type pathing / puzzle minigame. This one's great. Deep Sea Salvage is a pretty boring coin minigame. Bowl Over is better than it was in 1 since the 1 needs to take out all 3 to win, but this minigame is still heavily weighted towards the 1. Crane Game is also improved over the original where the 1 needs to capture all 3 players to win. This minigame is still really boring though and drags on for far too long. Move to the Music is virtually impossible for the 1. Bob-omb Barrage is virtually impossible for the 3 and controls like garbage. Look Away involves fun mind games. Shock Dropper Roll is a cool premise but is way too easy for the 3. If there was less lag for the 1 to be able to switch to the direction, it probably would be more balanced. Lights Out is a rare, well-balanced 1 vs 3 minigame. Filet Relay is pretty good, but I don't really understand why this one needed to be a 1 vs 3 as opposed to like a 2 vs 2 or a 4-player minigame. Archer Rival is easy for the 1. Quicksand Cache is just kind of boring and goes on for far too long. Also, it's really easy for everyone to get a good amount of coins. Rainbow Run is pretty much the same as Tightrope Treachery, but slightly better since the three don't have to control their clouds. It's still awful though. Toad Bandstand is slightly better than the original, but not much better. Bobsled Run is better than the original because there is an additional path with a boost that you can take, but it's still easy to box your opponent out. I like it though. Handcar Havoc is a pretty good team mashing minigame, just as good as the original. Balloon Burst is a good timing minigame. I think it works better as a 2v2. Sky Pilots is alright, I just don't really get why this needs to be a 2v2. I feel like if this was a 4v4 it would be more fun. Speed Hockey is fast and frantic Pong. This one's good. Cake Factory is a pretty good timing minigame, although the timing isn't too tough to get the hang of. Magnet Carta is a slow, boring car game. Looney Lumberjacks requires good team coordination. This one's great. Torpedo Targets is so unbelievably slow and clunky and does not need to be a 2v2. Destruction Duet is just kind of a mashing game. Dungeon Dash is a good team coordination game, just like it was in Mario Party 1. Grab Bag is good, just like it was in Mario Party 1, except you don't directly impact your opponent's coin count. Bumper Balloon Cars is a cool concept, but a little too finicky to control. Raking 'em In is a decent timing minigame. Day at the Races is a tense luck minigame, and you need those to make Mario Party Mario Party. Facelift is better than it was in Mario Party 1 since it has multiple faces that you can lift. It's still a little easy though. Crazy Cutters is exactly like it was in Mario Party 1, except the person who's most accurate wins rather than just needing to clear a certain threshold. This little change really makes all the difference. Hot Ba-Bomb also is elimination style, which makes this one so much better. You also have to catch it with B too, which adds a bit more skill intensity. Bowser's Big Blast is probably my favorite luck minigame in the series. It's so tense. Bowser's Slots sure are slots alright. Roll Out the Barrels is insultingly easy. Coughing Congestion is also insultingly easy. Hammer Slammer at least challenges you a little bit, but not much. Give Me a Break has tougher timing to figure out, but once you do, it's kinda easy. Mallet Go Round is also way too easy, but not as bad as Roll Out the Barrels and Coughing Congestion. Saber Swipes is a great quick input minigame. Quick Draw Corks is a great reaction minigame. Time Bomb requires you to count in your head and get closer to the time than your opponent. This one's really great. Psychic Safari requires you to mash A and B alternatively, which is pretty cool. Mushroom Brew is a great memory minigame. And finally, Rock Paper Mario sure is rock paper scissors, for better or for worse. So, those are my ratings overall. These ratings provide an average of 5.08 and a median and mode of 6. Overall, these minigames are obviously a step above Mario Party 1's minigame, and most of them are at least pretty good. The stinkers here really hit hard, and these mostly come in the item minigames and the 1 vs 3 minigames. 1 vs 3 minigames are incredibly difficult to balance and usually wind up being heavily weighted towards one team. There are exceptions like Lights Out, but most of these minigames are really tough to balance. The item minigames also really drag the score down too, and this honestly just comes down to the fact that most of them are too easy. When it becomes so easy you can always guarantee that you're going to get the item that you want with little to no skill involved, I think that makes these minigames stick out and grind the pace of the game to a screeching halt. These are all one-player minigames, and I said this in my previous video, but having all 3 other players have to sit there and watch one player play a minigame is so boring and grinds the pace to a halt. Thankfully, the item minigames are over much quicker than the one-player minigames were in Mario Party 1. With that being said, the dual minigames were an excellent addition to Mario Party, and all of them, with the exception of Rock Paper Mario, ranked above a 7 out of 10. They all involve players testing their reaction or input or memory skills, which I think makes for a quick but very tense duel with a lot of coins on the line. The only bummer with duels and item minigames is that they're tied to the board that they're on, so you will definitely see these minigames a lot through a normal board game. Battle minigames were also a very welcome addition, although I think having 2 pure RNG minigames out of the 8 battle minigames is a bit much, though they're 2 of the best RNG minigames that the series has to offer, and they're honestly really fun. Overall, the minigames in Mario Party 2 are a noticeable improvement over its predecessor. There are a couple of minigame modes available here as well. There's Minigame Battle, where you will play minigames until a player is first to 3, 5, or 7 wins. Minigame Duel, where you'll play dual minigames until someone wins 3, 5, or 7 times. And Minigame Trial, which is pretty much the same as Minigame Stadium from Mario Party 1, where you just have to try to get the most coins at the end of 10, 20, or 30 turns. The only difference here is that battle minigames replace one-player minigames. These modes are fine, but to be honest with you, I don't really understand why you would play this when the board gameplay is more interesting. But hey, Mario Party 2 is experimenting with some minigame modes here, which I like because sometimes it's fun to just jump in and play some minigames. It's a good supplement to the main attraction of the board games. So, let's talk about Mario Party 2's beginner friendliness. Mario Party 2 is a fan favorite for a lot of people, and I think that the reason that this is because it's one of the easiest Mario Parties to play with people who have never played a Mario Party game before. The boards are relatively straightforward and focused, and the item system is really simplistic and easy to understand, while still providing players with the options to make decisions. While I don't personally care for the duel and item minigames being locked to a single board, this does allow new players to be able to learn the minigame faster since it's repeated more frequently. The minigames are pretty easy to understand and are varied enough to keep players interested. Mario Party 2 has a stronger pace than Mario Party 1, and this makes the game much easier to recommend to series newcomers. I'm giving Mario Party 2 4.5 stars on my beginner friendliness meter, only knocking half a point off for some janky, unbalanced minigames. If you decide to play this game with some friends who aren't familiar with Mario Party, I recommend that you give Western Land a shot. This board has a very memorable aesthetic, the layout is interesting but also very easy to understand, and the train and hootenanny mechanics are all very engaging. The item and duel minigames are also really good here too. And that's Mario Party 2. Mario Party 2 is basically a reboot of Mario Party 1 in a lot of ways, improving and refining it virtually in every way. Mario Party 1 did allow you to customize the items that you could use, which is sadly gone in Mario Party 2, but other than that, Mario Party 2 is a remarkable improvement for the series. While there are still some things about Mario Party 2 that I find to be a little rough, like only being able to hold one item, it's a great improvement and a great example of what a good Mario Party game can be. I can see why a lot of people find Mario Party 2 to be their favorite. The boards are good, and the minigames are an incredible improvement over Mario Party 1. At the end of each of these videos, I'll be ranking the Mario Party games from worst to best, and to nobody's surprise, Mario Party 2 beats Mario Party 1 for me. However, on the next episode of Mark's Rec Room, we're going to go over Mario Party 3, arguably the least discussed mainline Mario Party game, and oddly enough, one of the most experimental. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day.